Good day, everyone. We are here again to discuss to you about zero and negative exponents, which is Module 3 of Quarter 2 Mathematics 9. So, our learning competency for this lesson is you must be able, or in this lesson, you will learn to apply the laws involving positive integral exponents to zero and negative integral exponents. And the other one is to be able to simplify exponential expressions using the laws of integral exponent. So this is our lesson 1, which is zero and negative exponents. What's in? So how are we going to simplify the following? So how are we going to simplify this one? Okay, so we have x cubed y squared times x times y. I think this means this one should be here. I think this must be like this. X over y. So wala yan dyan now. So that is simplification. Or that could be also. Yes, because there's an over there, so this one must be here. So another is we have 2a cubed raised to an exponent 4. And then we have here, this must be an exponent, 3x. This must be written in this way. C raised to 3x times another c raised to 2 plus 4x. So, dapat ganyan yan ha. Ito, exponent yan, 3x, and this one. Itong 3x, at saka ito, dapat yan sa taas. Okay, next. We have sa loob ang x squared y cubed. So, nasa labas ang 4 times the quantity x squared. So, dapat dito x squared, then y cubed, and then over 3, then raised to the third power. So, how are you going to solve that one? I mean, simplify. So, how did you simplify the given? So, upon having that answer, okay, answer the question. How did you simplify the given expression? You can explain it in your own words. What concepts have you applied? So, ano ba yung concept na ginamit niyo dyan? Then, what laws of integral exponents did you use in simplifying the expression? Okay, so you just answer these questions here. Okay, so these are the laws of positive integral exponents which are necessary to succeed in this module. So we have a review. Letter A raised to m times a raised to n is just equal to a raised to m plus n. So that is product of powers. Then, if you have the quantity a raised to m times n, I mean raised to the power of n, this is just the same as a raised to m times n. That is power of a power. Then another is, if you have the quantity a times b raised to a power of m, it is just the same as a raised to m times b raised to m. This is power of product. Then another, we have the power of a product again. That is, if you have an exponent inside, like a raised to m, then times b raised to n, then the quantity raised to p, it is just equal to a raised to m times b, then b times n, raised to n times p. So this is just the same as the power of product. Then we have letter E rather, the power of a quotient. If you have the quantity a over b raised to m is just the same as a raised to m divided by b raised to m, wherein b is not or should not be equal to 0. Then we have this one, power of a quotient or quotient of a power rather. So if you have a raised to m then divided by a raised to n is just the same as a raised to m minus n if m is greater than n. Okay? That is just m minus n, isubtract nyo lang yung exponent. That is if m is greater, mas malaki sa n. Okay, so these are the laws of the positive integral exponents. Then we have here, what's new? So analyze the problem below, then answer the questions that follow. A grain of rice has a volume of 20, hindi ko, okay, 20 raised to 9 times m raised to 3. Then a box full of full of rice has a volume of 20 raised to negative 3. It must be here. This must be negative 3 sa taas. Yan. Then m cube, ang 3 dapat sa taas yan. M cube. Then how many grains of rice are there in the box? So how are you going to apply that one? So a grain of rice has a volume of 20 raised to negative 9. This must be negative 9. Then yun ang volume ng grain of rice. And then a box full of rice has a volume also of this one. So how many grain of rice are there in the box? Okay. So what are you going to do? So what have you noticed about the given values or from the values given in the problem? What can you say about, or what have you noticed from the values given in the problem? Then what have you observed from the exponent? What have you observed from the exponents? And then what have you done to simplify these values? Then how did you solve the problem? And have you applied any law? What are the laws you applied to answer the problem? So you just base your answer from here, from these laws of positive integral exponents. So then, solving this one, then you will answer this. You have to answer this one based there from the laws. Okay. So the previous activity introduced you to a real-life application of negative exponents. So were you able to answer it correctly? Recall that you learned in grade 7, if a is a real number, a is not equal to 0, therefore a raised to m divided by a raised to n is just equal to a raised to m minus n if m greater than n. So that's it. So here, applying this, okay, so if you have h raised to 5 or to the fifth power divided by h to the raised to the fifth power again, then this is just equal to h raised to what should be m minus n. What is your m here? What is your n? So your m is the exponent of the numerator, while n is the exponent of the denominator. So you just write the exponent of numerator and the exponent of denominator, subtracting it, then yun ang answer dito. Okay, next. Here. What is this one? Okay, what is this? You just write it here. Okay, another is you just write the value of m and the value of n, then subtract, that must be 0 and that is equal to 1. Again, what are the values here? What are the exponents of the 8? Of 8 rather. So what are the exponents of 8 here? Okay, base from here also. You don't need to answer anything here because it's already given. All are given, so you don't need to, there's no missing answer here. So I think you don't need to answer this one here. Okay, what did you observe about the exponents? How were how were the problems solved? What can you say about the process of solving the problems? So what can you say about the process of solving the problems? Okay, next. What is it? The laws of exponents can be extended to include zero and integers rather. So we have letter A for zero and negative exponents. So let us simplify the expression 3 raised to 2 divided by 3 raised to 2. So consider two ways of simplifying the expression. We have this one. You can expand this by 3 by writing 3 times 3. Then you have also 3 times 3. Then dividing, we have 1. Or you can also apply the laws of the positive integral exponent. That is, you just write the base 3 raised to m. Your m is 2. Your m is 2 minus n. Your n is also the exponent of the denominator. 2 minus 2 is 0. And what do you notice? 3 raised to 0 is 1. So since 3 raised to 2 divided by 3 raised to 2 cannot have two different values, therefore we can say that for any non-zero number a, okay, which is a raised to 0, is always equal to 1. Okay, so that is for any non-zero number a. So like for example, we have illustrative examples here. 100 raised to 0 is 1. 9 times x squared, we can expand this one as 9 times x squared times y raised to 0 is 1. So therefore, your answer is just 9x squared. Wala na yung y raised to 0 because y raised to 0 is 1. That is from here. That is for any non-zero number a raised to 0 is 1. Then another is the quantity raised to 0. So since the exponent of the whole quantity is 0, therefore the value is this is just equivalent to 1. Another, expanding this will become x raised to 0, y raised to 6, and z raised to 5. Since this one here is already 1, so ang maiiwan na lang is y raised to 6 and z raised to 5. So that's why yun ang answer nyo. Then, negative times the quantity 5m squared n raised to 0. This one is, this quantity here is 1. Well, you still have negative there, so that's why you have your negative. That's why the answer is negative 1. Okay. So let us consider this expression, this one. If you're going to expand, this will become 3 times 3, and the denominator is 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. So cancelling or dividing, 3 divided by 3 is 1, another 3 divided by 3 is another 1. So since the answer is 1, 1 times 1 is 1, may naiwan pang 3 times 3. Ito na yun, which is this one. Okay, so 3 times 3 is 3 squared in exponential form. So therefore, okay, your answer is 1 over 3 raised to 2. Or you can apply this one, this. So applying that one, we have your m is 2, your n is 4. So 3 raised to 2 minus 4. So this will become negative 2. So your answer is 3 raised to negative 2. So therefore, since the exponent is negative, you need to make it positive. So you have to get the inverse of this one, which is 1 over 3 raised to 2. So since this one cannot have two different values, therefore, for any non-zero a and any integer n, okay, this is for a raised to negative n, it is always equals to 1 over a raised to n to make the exponent positive. Okay, so we have an illustrative example here. X raised to negative 5 is just equal to 1 over x raised to 5. So this is already positive. Okay, so the same process here. Dito sa number 2, this is just equal to 1 over, this must be, dapat meron to dito, 2a, ay, where is it? Erase muna natin. Dapat yun doon. Dapat ganito to. 1 over the quantity 2a b raised to positive 3, which is, this will become, using or applying the law of positive integers, this will become 1 over 2 raised to 3, and then a raised to 3 and b raised to 3. And this one, this is 1 over 8. 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. Then a cubed and b cubed. Ito yung number 2. So sa number 3, the same process sa number 2. This will become 1 over the quantity, then raised to 2, then magiging, you just multiply the exponent. 2 times 2 is 4. Ito, understood na may 1 dyan. So 1 times 2 is 2. 4 times 2 is 8. So yun. Then from here, since the exponent of p is negative, so therefore, this is equal to, parang ganito yan siya, 1 over p raised to 4 times q raised to 2 and r raised to 3. So multiplying ito na yung answer niya. Okay, yun na. Okay, evaluating expression with zero and negative exponents. So ito na yun. So if you are dividing a raised to m divided by a raised to n, you just subtract the exponent if m greater than n. Then, ganito pa rin, is equal to 0 if your m is equal to n. So, if pareho yan, if the value of m is equal to n, therefore, the exponent is 0 or the answer is just 1. And if your exponent here, if the value of n is greater than m, you can write it or you can simplify it by writing 1 over a, mauna ang n, minus m, wherein your m is less than n. So this is if your n is greater than m. Pag malaki yung n kaysa sa m, so ganito yung, this is how you are going to simplify. Then, another, we have rewriting algebraic expression with zero and negative exponent. So when algebraic expression have zero and negative exponent, they have to be rewritten in a way that all exponents must be positive. So in all cases, it is assumed that all denominators are not equal to 0. Okay, so we have illustrative examples. How are you going to simplify 4x squared y cubed divided by 20x raised to the 5th power y cubed? So solution. So we will separate the numbers. We have 4 over 20, then x squared divided by x raised to the 5th power, then y cubed over y cubed. So if you're going to simplify this is just 1 over 5. Then here, using, you can also use this one here, the n greater than m. So you can also use that as x 5 minus 2. So pwede lang yun, diretso. Bakit naging positive ito? Okay, mali ito. So this must be, dapat ito maging 1 over x cubed. While this one is 0 exponent which is equal to 1. So therefore, yung answer nyo, mali ito. This must be, dapat may 1 over, give me seconds. Erase muna natin. Okay. Dapat yan meron 1 over x cubed. So dapat ang answer dito is 1 times 1 times 1, this because this is also 1. So that is 1 over, tapos merong 5 x cubed. So correction lang please, dapat ito yung answer because from here dapat ang answer dyan is 1 over x cubed, hindi x cubed lang. Okay, number 2, separate natin ang 49 and 7. So 49 and 7, then p cubed over p negative raised to the negative 5, and then q raised to the 3rd power divided by q over negative 6. Okay, so 49 divided by 7 is 7. So applying again m and n, so this will become 3 minus the negative of 5. So may negative pa. Then here, sa q naman is times q raised to the 3rd power minus, again, the negative of 6 kasi may negative ang 6. So, applying, okay, this one here. So, this will become, this is subtraction. So, this will become positive and change the sign. This will become also positive. So, this is 3 plus 5. That will become 8. And again, applying this one, okay, subtraction. So, this will change again. This will also change. So, this will become 3 plus 6, and that is 9. So, therefore, that is the answer. Number 3. Sa number 3 naman, okay, this whole quantity, since the exponent is negative, nandun na siya sa baba. Ito na. Okay. Parang ganito to. This one. I will rewrite this one. This one is like this. 1 over 2 A raised to positive 2. Ang B sa taas. Ganon. Okay. So, since this one also is negative, so over 1 over 4A. Tapos, meron siyang B sa taas times yung C niya is 1. Ang C raised to 0 is 1. So, 1 na yun. So, dito naman banda, division ito. So, baliktarin lang natin yan. So, from here, ito muna. Baliktarin natin, this will become ito, okay, 1 over, wait, over 2A squared magiging times, ito baliktarin natin, this will become 4A. Tapos meron siyang B sa taas, B squared. Meron din siyang sa baba, B. So, cancelled ang isang B. This is squared. Okay, so 2 times 2 is 4. Okay, this will become 4A also, 4A squared. Okay, so makakancel na ang 4. Ito, dalawa of 2 is 4. Meron pang squared dito. So, may squared siya. Okay, erase natin. Ganito kasi yan ah. Ang man in-erase ko. Ano yan dito? A. So, this will become, ito dito, magiging 1 over 4A squared. Since may times 4 pa yan dyan, 4A, dito may iwan is B na lang. B. Kasi na-cancel na natin yung isa. So, dito, makancel din ang 4 at saka isang A. So, ang answer na lang dito is B over A. So, that's why B over A na lang. Okay. So, yun. Simplifying expression. So, we have all exponents are positive. There are no exponents. There are no powers of powers. So, dapat wala ng power of power like this one. Meron pa siyang exponent sa labas. Tapos, simplified na. Each base appears only once. So, dapat wala dalawang base pareho. Dapat isa na lang. That's how you're going to simplify. So, parehas nito. Ito. So, parehas dito. So, ang 27 written in the form of 3 raised to 3. Okay. So, yun. 3 raised to 15. Okay. Ang 6 can be written as 2 times 3 raised to 12. But this can be also written as 2 raised to 12 and 3 raised to 12. So, cancelled na ito. Okay. Since pareho ang base, you can just add exponent and this can be 15. Well, sa taas may 15. Okay. So, ito wala na yan. 1 na to. So, 3 plus 12 is 15. So, this must be 3 raised to 15 plus meron kayong sa taas 3 raised to 15. Your answer is just 1. Okay. So you just simplify the same process. Okay. So, since the quantity the whole quantity raised to 0, ang answer niyan is just 1. Ito, since the exponent is negative 1, you just put it on the denominator lahat. Then, applying division of fraction, magiging 1 times, baliktarin nyo lang yung denominator. Ito, magiging 15 a squared b, the term, okay, times 15, then a squared b over 1. So, since wala naman yan, wala naman to, 1 lang naman yan, so ang answer niya is just 15a squared b. So, the same process dito. Dito naman, ganito lang yan. Ibaba nyo lang maging 1 over 6, ay, sorry. Erase muna natin. X, tapos meron siyang squared, all over 1 over x raised to 5. So, since fraction na naman, this will become like this. 1 over 6 squared x squared times, baliktarin nyo to, magiging x raised to 5. That's really the rule in dividing fraction over 1. Get the reciprocal of the denominator. Baliktad nyo, then proceed to multiplication. So, ang x5 at saka x2, okay. So, this will become 1 over x. Okay, ito na 1 over, okay, 1 over 6 raised to 2. Tapos, meron pa siyang 1 over x square. Tapos, may x5 sa taas. So, if you are going to simplify this further, meron pa to. This must be, ganito yan. So, this must be x 5 minus 2 over 36 or x cubed over 36. So, dapat ito ang answer nyo dito. Okay. So, the same process here. Then, simplify. What is 8 raised to 0 times 8 raised to 3? Then, negative exponent dito. Okay. Ito, positive. Then, what is c raised to 0? Dito, ang exponent ng b is negative 1. Ang a is positive. So, the same process lang po. Ito naman, the exponent of x only is negative 4. Ang 2 walang exponent. The exponent of 2 is positive 1. So, only the x has a negative 4 exponent, and here has a negative 2 exponent. Well, here, the whole quantity raised to 0, but you have the negative outside, negative sign outside. Here, the exponent of x is negative 1, while here, the quantity, the whole quantity yz is raised to 0. Then, a raised to negative 3 and b raised to positive 2. So, to simplify, you have to, what is the rule? Our rule here is should. Okay, so exponential expressions are said to be in simplest form if all the exponents are positive. So, all those negative exponents dapat magiging positive. And there are no powers of a powers. Or each base appears only once. Okay. So, only once. Okay, next. So you can get the treasures in the chest if you will be able to correctly rewrite all expression without using zero and negative integral exponents. So you just write what is 12 raised to 0 times 12 raised to 5, and then you can find okay, so you just write the answer, and then here also the same process, the same process as here. You just simplify. And then how did you get the treasure? How does it feels? How did you simplify the given expression? What are the concepts and processes to use in simplifying expression with zero and negative integral exponents? And okay, so activity 3, you just compare. You just compare. Ano yung ginawa dito? The same given, there are two there are two explanations. Okay. So the other one used the law of exponent, the other one used the concept of negative exponent, then followed by the rule of dividing fraction. So what do you think is correct in simplifying given expression? Justify your answer. So, yun. A very young caterpillar may weigh only 12 raised to negative 2 grams. It is possible for it to grow 12 raised to the fourth power times its body weight during its life cycle. So how many grams did it reach during its life cycle? So you just answer the problem and then just write it here. Okay, so we have how did you apply your understanding of exponent in solving the problem? What necessary concept of skills needed to solve the problems? What examples can you give to show the explanation of zero and negative integral exponents? So are exponents important in solving real life problems? Why? So you just answer there. So what you have learned? Number 1, that for any non-zero real number a and positive integral m, okay, here, this must be 1 over a raised to m. Ayusin natin yung a. This must be a. Okay, another is let a be a non-zero real number and m and n are, be positive integers. So ito yung laws of power of quotient. So ito na yun. If your m is greater than n, therefore, if that is the given, therefore, in simplified form, you can just write a raised to m minus n. If your m and n are equal, therefore, the exponent is 0, then any number raised to 0 is 1. If your n is greater than m, then it is simplified as 1 over a raised to n minus m. So, yun. Then, exponential expressions are in simplest form if all the following, or all the exponents are positive and there are no powers of powers, power of powers. Each base appears only once and all fractions are in simplest form. Yun. So, then you can answer now your assessment. Okay. So, that's it for Module 3, Quarter 2. So, hope you learned something. And if you have question, you just drop your question or write your question below the video, or write it in the comment box. Thank you and have a great day ahead.